Earth is a home to trillions of organisms, including animals and plants. They are found on land in lakes, rivers, and oceans, as well as in the air. Scientists use classification to show how different species or types of organisms are related. All organisms need food for the energy required to live and grow. They all excrete of waste products and detect changes in their surroundings and respond to them. All living organisms follow a life cycle of growth and development, reproduction, and death. The sunlight is essential for life on Earth to exist. Plants use energy from sunlight to convert water and carbon dioxide gas into food. These releases essentials life-giving oxygen into the atmosphere. Virtually all the other organisms rely on plants for energy to keep them alive. Even meat eaters indirectly absorb vegetation from their plant-eating prey. Reproduction is a biological process in which an organism gives rise to young ones, similar to itself. The offspring grow, mature, and in turn produce new offspring. There is a cycle of birth, growth, maturity, and death. The reproduction enables the continuity of the species from generation after generation. There is a large diversity in the biological world, and each organism has evolved its own mechanism to multiply and produce its own offspring. The organism's habitat, its internal physiology, and several other factors are collectively responsible for how it reproduces. The production of new organisms from the existing organisms of the same species is called reproduction. It is essential for the survival of species on this earth. The process of reproduction ensures continuity of life on Earth. It gives rise to more organisms with same basic characteristics as their parents. Based on whether there is a participation of one organism or two in the process of reproduction, it is of two types. When an offspring is produced by a single parent with or without the involvement of gamete formation, the reproduction is asexual. When two parents of opposite sex participate in the reproductive process and also involves fusion of male and female gametes, it is called sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction is a type of reproduction that involves a complex life cycle in which a gamete with a single set of chromosomes combine with another to produce an organism composed of cells with two sets of chromosomes. Sexual reproduction is the most common life cycle in multicellular eukaryotes such as animals, fungi, and plants. This sexual reproduction does not occur in prokaryotes, but they have processes with similar effects such as bacterial conjugation, transformation, and transduction, which may have been precursors to sexual reproduction in early eukaryotes. Asexual reproduction is the primary form of reproduction for single-celled organisms such as archaea, bacteria, and protists. Many plants and fungi reproduce asexually as well. Asexual reproduction is a mode of reproduction by which offsprings give rise from a single parent and inherit the genes of that parent only. The offspring will have exact genetic copies of the parent. The new organisms are produced in rapid multiplication by the process of amitotic or mitotic divisions. Amitotic is a process by which a cell directly separates as the nucleus and cytoplasm are directly cut into two. Mitosis is the process by which cell which has previously replicated each of its chromosomes separates the chromosomes in its cell nucleus into two identical sets of chromosomes. Each set will have its own new nucleus. It is the form of nuclear division. The special type of reproduction is of 6 types. They are binary fission, multiple fission, gemulation, budding, fragmentation, and regeneration. Binary fission is a type of asexual reproduction by a separation of the body into two new bodies. In the process of binary fission, an organism duplicates its genetic material, then divides into two parts, with a new organism receiving one copy of the DNA. Amoeba is a shapeless, tiny unicellular organism that has a porous cell membrane which encloses the cell organelles and cytoplasm. Amoeba reproduces by a common asexual reproduction method called binary fission. After replicating its genetic material through mitotic division, the cell divides into two equal-sized daughter cells. The genetic material is also equally partitioned, therefore the daughter cells are genetically identical to each other and the parent cell. In this process, the nucleus of amoeba first divides into two to form two daughter nuclei. This process is called karyokinesis. After the nucleus has divided into two, the process of cytokinesis takes place, in which the cytoplasm in the mother cells divides into two daughter cells. This leads to the formation of the two daughter amoebae cell, having a nucleus and its own cell organelles. Karyokinesis is the process of the division of nucleus. It corresponds to the separation of the daughter chromosome into two daughter nuclei. Karyokinesis is usually followed by cytokinesis. Cytokinesis is the process of the division of the cytoplasm. It corresponds to the separation of the daughter nuclei into two daughter cells. Cytokinesis occurs immediately after mitosis. See how the daughter cells are divided and they are genetically and morphologically similar to that of the amoeba parent cell. Simple binary fission are also called as irregular binary fission. This is the type of binary fission in which cytokinesis occurs along a plane perpendicular to that of the karyokinesis. Here the plane of cytokinesis is always perpendicular to the plane on which the karyokinesis have occurred. Example, amoeba. Transverse binary fission is the plane of division is at right angle to the longitudinal axis of the animal. Example, Paramecium and Planaria. Longitudinal binary fission is a plane of fission is parallel to the long axis of an animal. During this binary fission, the organelles of a parent body either divide equally between two daughter individuals or one daughter individual retain them, or most other develop into new organelles. Example, Euglena, Vorticella, and in some corals. Type of asexual reproduction is the multiple fission. Multiple fissions are the parent nucleus undergoes repeated division to form a large number of daughter nuclei. This is followed by the division of cytoplasm into as many parts as there are nuclei, each part enclosing one nucleus. As a result, a number of daughter cells are formed from a single parent cell. At the same time, this process usually takes place under unfavorable environmental conditions. The multiple fission occurs in most algae, fungi, some protozoans. Example, amoeba, plasmodium and monocytes, etc. Type of asexual reproduction is gemulation or gemule in sponges. Asexual reproduction occurs in sponges in various ways. The best known method is gemulation. In freshwater sponges and a few marine sponges, buds are formed within the parent body and are called gemmules. These are also called as endogenous buds or internal buds. Gemulation begins when a small group of cells becomes laden with reserve food granules and become isolated at the internal surface of a sponge. Batch 1 mass is covered over by another protective covering. This is called as a gemmule. The gemmules are expelled from the adult sponge, and this is a normal reproductive process in marine sponges. Sometimes gemmule formation is a means to tide over unfavorable conditions. After degeneration of the parent sponge due to drought or temperature extremes, the gemmules are liberated and germinate to adult sponge. The freshwater sponges under family Spongylidae undergo a slight different form of gemulation. Here the gemmules consist of mass of archaeocytes laden with reserve food materials. In addition, they are surrounded by a protective membrane formed by the archaeocyte cells. The protective covering is generally reinforced by spicules, the skeletal materials of sponges. The gemmules of a freshwater sponges allows a species to survive in unfavorable conditions in cold regions. Gemulation occurs in winters and the inactive gemmules hibernate. In warm regions, gemulation occurs in summer and the gemmules are said to estivate. The next spring or autumn, as the case may be, when favorable conditions return, the gemmules germinate with the archaeocytes emerge through an opening called micropyle. The various cellular types differentiate and a new sponges grows. Budding is a type of asexual reproduction. During the process of bud formation or budding, an outer growth or bud appears on the parent body. The bud may be unicellular as in some protozoans or multicellular as in certain lower metazoans like Cycone, Hydra, Planaria, Xylus. One or more such buds may be produced on a single parent body. The bud, which is much smaller than the parent, develops it to its full size either after detachment from the parent or prior to the detachment being attached to its parent body. Budding may be external or exogenous as in Hydra, or internal or endogenous as in Axantha. Another type of asexual reproduction is fragmentation. When the body of a hydra or planaria or starfish is cut into several fragments, each fragment develops into a new individual. This process is called as fragmentation. Fragmentation is a process by which an organism develops or regenerates their lost or worn out parts. Regeneration is highly developed in lower animals like protozoans, sponges, colintrates, planarians, and echinoderms. Advantages of asexual reproduction are a large number of individuals are produced within a short period from a single parent. The offsprings are genetically identical to the parent. It occurs only through simple mitotic division. It helps in dispersal of young ones to far places. It helps the animal to tide over unfavorable environmental conditions. Disadvantages of asexual reproduction are continuous binary fission for several generations makes the daughter individuals genetically weak and requires regeneration. Animals produced by asexual reproduction are genetically less adaptable to changing environmental conditions. Since the genetic constitution of the daughter individuals is similar to the parents, there is no genetic variation in the offspring and hence do not contribute to the speciation. Hi, hence you would have known the idea of reproduction, types of asexual reproduction and the advantages and disadvantages of asexual reproduction. In next coming classes, we will see about the reproduction occurring in the flowering plants and animals. So, I take an immense pleasure in thanking the Shiksha House for providing me the images for taking the classes for NEET examination.